Building trust in a job interview, I found, is a key ingredient to a successful one. So that's why in today's video I'm going to give a couple of more pointers when it comes to how do you establish trust, or how do you increase your chances to be perceived as a trustworthy candidate in a job interview. And the first thing I want you to keep in mind is to always listen to understand, not to just respond. Because when you listen to respond, it's a very transactional approach, whereas when you listen to understand, it's a transformational approach. And for many of you, sending a message of transformational leadership will be beneficial in a job interview. The other point I wanted to touch upon here with respect to listen to understand, not to respond, is try to listen more than you speak with someone. Try to do a role play if you want, and you'll notice that the more you listen to someone, the better the chances that they will start trusting you. So use my free role play service if you want, and notice, this rather weird dynamic if you don't know how these things work. So listening sells well in a job interview so long as you know how to do it. The second thing you want to do in order to increase your chances to build trust in a conversation is rapport building. Now, of course, rapport building happens even before and even after the conversation takes place, but I'm specifically pointing out here those first few moments of the conversation where you form your first impression about someone. In the same way we do it, our interviewers do it too. And there's even anti-bias training, not to form such a lasting impression of a interview candidate in the first few minutes, because it might not be as relevant. So if it's that important, I believe it makes perfect sense that we also prepare, for that rapport building phase. Number 3 here, body language. Body language, I believe, is extremely important, especially in today's virtual first job interviews, where they can only see a picture of you, and often that picture is not in high definition. It's even more important that we go an extra mile to communicate our emotions better if you want. How can we communicate our emotions better? Well, the tip number 1 here is to use hand gestures. So if we gesticulate with our hands, chances are we will be better perceived. Now, give it a go before doing it live, with an interviewer. Maybe do some role play if you want to see how this goes. Second tip here, be sure to smile every now and then. People have a tendency to be very serious, to tend to get very serious on video. I'm no exception to that as well. So try to smile every now and then, or even keep a reminder, a post-it note somewhere nearby during the interview. Nod in understanding. Yes, I agree. You could even use these phrases, every now and then during the conversation to make your interviewer feel like, yes, I can hear you. It's we're having a conversation here. So this is for the body language, which I believe it's very, very important. Number 3, look for commonalities with other person. So this can be done, by looking at their profiles, on social media profiles or other profiles if you want. Maybe you have the same passions, maybe you've been to the same school, maybe find something in common with that person, because people have a tendency to intuitively trust other people who are similar to themselves, right? So especially when first establishing a relationship with someone. So this is what happens in a job interview oftentimes. So try to find commonalities and try to bring them up during the conversation, especially at the beginning of that conversation. Another technique would be to mirror their emotions. In other words, if they smile, you can smile too, and if they're not, then you probably shouldn't too. But there's a fine line between mirroring someone's emotions to build their to earn their trust, versus trying to manipulate them. So you'd want to be careful on this one. The 5th technique or strategy that you would want to keep in mind here is probably a more advanced one. That is to do some personal branding. Needless to say, you know that branding can be extremely powerful in pretty much any scenario, in any exchange, if you want. But for starters, the best personal branding you could do for a job interview is to be yourself, and be yourself consistently, right? And to give you a little quote here from someone, life isn't about finding yourself, life is about creating yourself. Finding who you are, it's a beginner approach. Creating a better version of yourself, that's where you want to work on. And how do you create a better version of yourself? Well, it also starts, with knowing how to differentiate from other candidates and selling yourself on your strength throughout the interview. So this would be the basics of creating your personal branding if you want. Of course, you could get far more advanced if you wanted to, but these would be the 5 elements that I believe are essential to inspire more trust in a job interview, and again, in my opinion, to significantly increase your chances to have a successful outcome.